Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher with another segment on a martial arts subject relating to Bruce Lee. One of my subscribers that follow me made a statement, apparently, that another person who is a follower and or subscriber responded to, who in turn sent me a message asking me to basically present some evidence of Bruce Lee having a fight with someone qualified, or which would qualify Bruce Lee as a great fighter. Basically, the way he titled it was, someone that follows you made the statement that you said, me, that Bruce Lee was the greatest fighter that exists in the world, basically. Now, my response to that directly is this: I don't believe I ever said he was the greatest fighter. I said he was the greatest martial artist of our time. That I did say. I don't regret saying that, based on the information that has been left behind, based on the life that he lived during the time that he was here on this planet. Now, there are, and I've said this many times as well, and my videos are still on this platform. You can find them, just search them out. Just type Bruce Lee in on my channel, and you'll find everything that I've talked about as far as Bruce Lee is concerned. And I challenge anyone to tell me anything different. It's evidential. So anyway, based on Bruce Lee living here during the time that he did, or time period that he did, he's the one that surfaced from the mass of people who studied or trained in the martial arts during that time. And even before, I said that is what garnered him the title greatest martial artist of our time. I'm not the only one. I didn't coin that phrase. You know, the legendary Bruce Lee. There's a lot of people considered or touted as being legendary fighters and or martial artists, if you will. So, again, not to keep beating this dead horse, if you will, there were, during the time that Bruce Lee lived, people who were as good as him and even better than him. Now, you hear me saying that. So I'm a realist. But there was no one at the time that surfaced on the level that Bruce Lee did during that era that's notable. There were people around him, karate, so-called gung fu, if you will, kung fu, and other martial arts that existed around that same time era, if you will. But the one that had the prominence, the one that stuck out the most, and that became renowned throughout the world on the level that he did, was Bruce Lee. Now, if you don't believe that, show me someone, show us someone that rivaled Bruce Lee's status as the greatest martial artist of our time during that era. Who is the person? Present that person. And please don't tell me about people who were subordinate to him or who were before him. We're talking about during the time that Bruce Lee lived, and is still revered to this very day. I watched a movie not too long ago, and within the past week or so, Bruce Lee's name was mentioned in the movie. And that's been in dozens and dozens of movies and commercials. You don't hear them talking about other karate personalities or martial arts personalities in movies. They might mention Chuck Norris's name every once in a while, but the one that is prevalent is always Bruce Lee. He's been mentioned in commercials. He's been in muscle magazines, bodybuilding magazines, wrestling magazines, martial arts magazines, and he continues to be in those periodicals and so forth throughout the time that he has been dead or gone. So, as far as getting to the point of who he fought, why? Why do you need to know who he fought? It seems to me that people still want to discredit him. But let me tell you this. Herein lies wisdom coming from the master. The whole idea of being a fighter is convoluted. Why are people so enamored about the status of a person being a fighter per se? Because ever since I was a child, I was taught in the martial arts as a child. Martial arts is supposed to be self-discipline. Self-discipline. The art of fighting without fighting, as Bruce Lee said in Enter the Dragon. It's supposed to be trying to avoid physical altercations and or fights. So why are we talking about people being fighters and who they beat and how many people they fought? I've heard and seen and read people talking about the Gracies and their legacy, if you will, and others similar who have studied jiu-jitsu and maybe other arts, and how many street fights they've had and who they beat, or they have a 30-0 fighting record, or they fought 100 people and so forth. Who, excuse my expression, who the hell cares? And what does that say about the person's character? What it says to me is that that person is a violent person. I don't want to have a record of having street fights that are in the dozens and the hundreds. What in the world am I living for? Violence? What example as a human being am I presenting to the world? If my status and or my reputation is based on who I beat up in the streets, what kind of person is that? Isn't this what we're supposed to be trying to avoid in the first place? So when you start talking about fighters, who have they beat? Why are you so caught up in fighting? It's not supposed to be fighting, because the greatest man, the greatest martial artist, the greatest person, the greatest human being is the one that can avoid conflict. And that's wisdom by itself. Need I tell you anything more? So when I say Bruce Lee was the greatest martial artist of our time, he was, and he still is to this day. Doesn't mean that there are not other great martial artists, but he's the one that most people pattern after, philosophically, physically, his thoughts, his concepts, his principles. It's not like he invented them, but no, he made them more readily available to us, and he presented them and reminded even some of us of what nature is supposed to be about, expressing one's self in your particular craft. That was it, really. So me, people say, can you fight? We talk about fighting. Why? I don't want my legacy to be I beat up this person or some popular person or some famous person and so forth. By the time I die, the most important thing is going to be, what kind of life did I live on this planet that God gave all of us? How did I treat my fellow man? Not about how many ticks in my belt, how many notches in my sword that I have from failing someone, downing someone, killing someone, destroying someone. Is that something God wants us to do? Or is that your human ego? Is it? I know I'm saying too much that you can't take, a lot of you that's watching this, because I speak the truth. This is true mastership. It's not about how many people you beat up, how many people you can say I've won championships over. It's about what kind of human being are you really, and it's about your actual character or lack thereof. This is Grandmaster Reginald Stroud Sr., affectionately known as Brother Teacher, and I hope I've taught you something. Take care.